What up, Talkin Fight fans? Thanks for tuning in to another wonderful episode of Knuckle Up with your man Mike Orr at 4 and Cedric Benn, who's in the den. And yes, we are continuing with our Black Murderers Row week. And today we have a special guest in the house to help us talk about two fine gentlemen in the Murderers Row. Jack Chase and Eddie Booker are today's subject. And we have Mr. James Hagler in the house. Yes, he's going to come join us. James, how are you? Thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming to talk about the Boxers Murderers Row. Such a pleasure. I'm super excited that you're here. Oh, did we lose the sound? We got to get his sound back up.
Can you hear us good, James? You good?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I don't know what's going on.
We can hear you. Okay, we can hear you. Excellent.
A little bit delayed. It's a little bit late.
Yeah, it's a little delayed. James, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule, man, to come join us and talk about such an important movement in boxing that a lot of people don't really know about.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that, man. When your guy got in touch with me, he was like, have you heard of the Murderers Row? And I was like, well, not really. I haven't heard of any of them. And when I did my research on them, I was like, holy crap, man. I was like, wow, especially Charley Burley, man. There's so much on him that it was ridiculous. And he just reminds me of my father. My father went through the same. My father could have been in this class with these fighters if he didn't go to Infinities,
Exactly.
So it was very interesting. And also, Boo Boo Andres, he's going through similar problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to fight him. And I hate to see wasted talent like this in our sport. I mean, we need to embrace it, not, discriminate against it. We need to bring that in, man. It's so important, so vital.
Exactly. So the two fighters that we're going to profile today, I'm going to start with Mr. Jack Chase first. Jack Chase was born January 27th, 1914 in Texas, in Sherman, Texas. He actually started out his career going by fighting under the name Young Joe Louis, trying to emulate that style before actually officially changing his name to Jack Chase in 1942. Just like the rest of them on the Black Murderers Row, even though he was ranked second in the world in his division, he still never got a title shot. Although he thought, he fought all the best guys. In a second here, Mike's going to give us his record. But he did win several regional belts in the USA, including Colorado State titles, Rocky Mountain Regional middleweight and welterweight titles in the 1930s and 40s, including California State's middleweight and light heavyweight titles in the 1940s. And he retired in 1948. Mike, can you give us talk a little bit about his record?
Yeah, definitely. Well, see, Mr. Jack Chase here amassed an amazing record of 81 wins, 24 losses, 12 draws with 35 knockouts. And, for this 5'10" middle, that's pretty huge, man. Those are some big numbers. And, you were on point with these regional titles that he had. He fought for a few of them. You can see it here when you check out his fighting record. Back 1936, Ring Magazine. There was a huge bout there that he fought against Eddie Pierce. That goes down in history as one of his good fights. Also, back in 1937, he had another great fight against Phil McQuillan, I believe the name is, where McQuillan hit the referee who had been warning him for various infractions, and McQuillan was suspended 6 months as a result. Jack Chase ended up winning the fight. Well, it went down as a no contest due to that. So, man, some frustrations that he was definitely causing his opponents for sure.
Yeah, James, we were just talking when we were talking about our guys yesterday. We were saying how it's, obviously it's too bad that there obviously back then there's not too much footage, of these guys' fights highlights for us to see them fight. But just because just knowing that their names are still carried on till this day, almost 100 years later, shows you that the type of fighters that they were back then, right?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I was kind of, when I was doing my research on them, I wanted to see the clips. I was so, anxious to see clips, but I ain't see too many of them. You know what I mean? I
No.
was thinking in my mind, I was thinking, I wonder if Mike Tyson got some of these cuts, because Customato was just back during his time. So I think that maybe, I know I can't wait to see Mike when I talk to him. I'm going to talk to him about these guys. And I know Cust has something. I know he must have seen some footage on him, so it'd be very interesting, especially that boy Jack Chase he was phenomenal too, man.
Yeah.
Fighting Archie Moore too, and all those guys like Ray Robinson, the guys Jake LaMotta, they had nothing but good things to say about those guys, man.
Exactly. Now moving on to Eddie Booker.
Yeah.
Eddie Booker was born November 5th, 1917 in Texas, USA. He was an accomplished amateur boxer, won numerous state and national titles before turning pro in 1935. His nickname was the Black Dynamite, Eddie Black Dynamite Booker. They said he could bang or box, depending on the situation. And he was known to be a defensive stylist with a methodical approach to the sweet science. As a coach, I always appreciate the guys that really emphasize the defense. Despite not having a chance to go for a world title, and even though we know back then, they had to take the toughest bouts possible. There was no easy fights back then for them. He still went undefeated in his first 44 bouts before taking his first loss. And Eddie Booker, Black Dynamite, was actually the first person to stop Archie Moore in 1943. Here's a quick quote from Archie Moore. This is an exact quote from Archie Moore saying, I had some rough fights in my time, but all things being equal, when I was in my prime, one of my toughest, I had to been against Eddie Booker, a fighting machine who shot punches with deft precision. Booker was one of the great fighters of my time. He had me fighting for dear life. And that's a quote from the great Archie Moore, who everyone recognizes one of the best ever. Another amazing defeat from Mr. Booker is that he was never stopped in his whole career, despite the high caliber of opponents that he faced. He did have to retire a bit early in 1944 because of a detached retina, reportedly due because someone tampered with their gloves, which things weren't really checked back then, but that's what happened.
There's a horseshoe in there, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, he beat Coco Kid as well, didn't he?
Yes. Yeah, that's it. They all fought each other like 6 times in that murder.
Yeah. Well, back then, they had to, man. Everybody got to eat, man.
Yeah.
And they want to see who's the best too. So it wasn't no we running from this, we want this. Nah. Just lace them up, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Mike, can you talk a bit about his record?
Yeah, man. Eddie Booker, man, retired with a record of 66 wins, 5 losses, 8 no contests, with 33 knockouts. This 5'9" middleweight man with a 73-inch reach. That's big things. Yeah, used to go as Black Dynamite, birthplace Alto, Texas. Now resided in San Jose, California, where he picked up this career, man. And 1935, January 15th was his debut against Ray Lewis, another guy who was debuting, and he won that with a first round knockout, man. Pro debut for Booker, according to the San Jose News. He boxed as Eddie Brooks at the start of his career. So he boxes another name, which is pretty interesting.
So how many rounds was these guys going? They, I know they was 20 rounds back then.
That's when I think they first started to introduce rounds. I know Jack Johnson and them, they were just going until somebody gives up. You have like 3-4 hour matches, but these guys, I don't think it was a set determined amount of rounds, but they did it doesn't say that. It doesn't say that anywhere with the set amount of rounds, but I'm sure
But
they
you figure Archie Moore in his time, so it had to be a lot of rounds.
Yeah.
I have noticed that a lot of the long round fights were when they were fighting members of the Murderers Row. So when you go through the records here, it's not like with Eddie Booker. It's not till you get to his fight with Jack Chase, till you see him in a 15-round fight. Other than that, it's all been 10 rounds mostly, and then the 6s and 4s, and as you're just getting into it. But there was one fight that's interesting, against Johnny Natale.
But wait, time out. Before you tell that story, just that just shows another reason why they were called the Murderers Row, because when they had to fight each other, they increased the rounds,
yeah,
to make them take even more punishment, right?
Yeah.
Well, what ounces were the gloves? Were they like 6 ounces, 8 ounces, 6 ounces, 8 ounces? Because they were little guys, so it had to be.
I'm assuming. I'm assuming they were between 8 and 10 still, and again, obviously we seen by the situation.
I think it's 6 ounces, man. They just changed the ounces. When my dad was fighting, it was 8 ounce middleweight. Middleweight was fighting with 8 ounces. So
that's crazy.
Back then they had.
Yeah, and so Dick said small gloves, basically some winter mitts.
Yeah.
Back in the 30s and 40s, they were using 6 ounce gloves.
Yeah,
8 ounce gloves became standard in the mid to late 40s. So you figure, some of these guys don't have the money to go out and be buying all these new gloves. So a lot of these fights are with those 6 ounce mitts, man. Just keep your hands warm in the winter,
And nobody was checking back then either. As the situation with Eddie Booker, nobody was really checking him. So
right,
Really
it was very dangerous to be a fighter back then. You had like Mike said, you had to be authentically tough to live in that era. And if that's the only means of you eating, wow, that's a tough job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Definitely. One of the funny things is I did stumble upon a little story about Jack Chase, and he had a promoter. His first promoter was a guy that went by the name Babe Shosky, who was the mover and shaker of the Wallensburg boxing scene in 1944, and at the earliest, Chase was under the control of Johnny Keloff. So these guys had promoters that were pushing them, man, for these fights. So they had to be making some money.
Oh yeah, they was definitely. If you got a promoter, definitely.
Interesting. But yeah, there we have it. Those were our two main focus for today, Mr. Jack Chase and Black Dynamite, Mr. Eddie Booker.
Yeah, there is one thing that I wanted to say about Jack Chase.
Yeah.
There was a stat that I did find that was pretty crazy. So 1936, December 28th, he fought Eddie Pierce. Ring Magazine states that Chase's his first loss after 66 consecutive wins.
Wow.
Yeah, so these guys were a force to be reckoned with, and definitely they have paved the way, for the future of boxing, man, and for the future African American guys that are in boxing. These guys were so feared and such an elite group, man, that we have to recognize them in boxing, man, and we have to let people know and not let their legend die. It's got to be brought out there and brought to the people, man. It definitely does.
Exactly. That's what it's all about, just keeping the legacy alive. James, you gonna join us for the rest of the week too?
Yeah, definitely. I'll be back tomorrow too, man.
Excellent.
Perfect.
So,
I appreciate that.
To all the Talkin' Fight fans out there today, man, thanks for tuning in to another continuation here of Black Murderers Row. Definitely join us tomorrow for the continuation. We'll have 2 new profiles for you. James is going to come back and join us. Thank you again, James, for joining us today for a quick little history lesson for everybody out there on the Murderers Row. And man, Cedric, take us away, brother.
It's good, man. Yeah, just like I said, man, we're keeping the legacy alive. There's a reason why. There's obviously there's been plenty of black fighters over years since then, but there's a reason why these specific group fighters, names have lived on, along with the likes of Marvin Hagler and Tommy Hearns and the guys that came after them. So it's important that we keep these guys' names alive.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I want to say thank you for having me on as well. And I like that you said keeping the legacies alive, because that's my event that I'm putting together, and that's what it's going to be. That's what it's called. Keeping
Take a second.
alive.
Take a quick minute to promote it. Talk about it real quick.
Yeah.
It's real difficult to promote it at this point in time because we're still getting everything together. But I just wanted to mention that that's the name of the show, Keeping the Legacy Alive. We're going to have some of the legends, like their grandkids and their kids, on the card as well. So, and then my son is fighting also, so he'll be on that card, and it's going to be really interesting. So right now we're just putting all the pieces together. We're making a lot of progress, so we're expecting it to go down August 20th, 2022, at the end of this summer. So I'm real excited about it because you see a lot of these kids coming up, man, and it's going to be interesting, man. Definitely.
Is this an amateur or pro event?
Oh no, this is pro event,
nice.
for all day.
Okay. Nice. Well, you have a platform here to promote it, so you're good.
Hey, you have a platform here to live stream it if you'd like.
No doubt.
Yeah, well, we'll help you. We'll help you live stream that and put it to the masses, man. Definitely.
No doubt. Definitely.
All right. So to all the Talkin' Fight fans, man, thanks for tuning in to this special episode with our special guest James Hagler. Thanks for coming out, James. Any last words you'd like to say to our guests that are watching us around the world?
Just keep watching, baby. Keep watching. It's gonna get real interesting.
That's it. All right. To all the Knuckle Up fans, we'll see you tomorrow, same time, same channel. 2 new people we're gonna profile, and James is gonna come back and join us. So make sure you guys tune in and see us same time.
All right.
Peace.